welcome to this episode of the Next Guy Up podcast, starring 10, Zach, and myself, Mason.
Let's
on
go.
a weekend preview episode. We are super pumped. We have so much sports on top of sports, and we can't wait to jump in and get ready for this upcoming weekend, upcoming weeks, months, year. We're pumped.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
We're 21 days away from football as of tonight.
Showtime.
And we have so much to talk about, and we're ready for it. What do you guys think? What's something that you're most excited about? We had some fantasy football that we had going on, and now we got some college and football coming up soon.
I think I was very excited. Anthony Richardson's been named the starter because I'm going to their first game. The Jags open up the season up in Indy. Nothing like first rookie quarterback start. It shouldn't go too well for him.
Just expose him.
Are they still just 3.5 point favorites? If so, I might be taking that when I get off the.
I don't know.
Pod.
Last time I saw it, I've got it at 3.5. So, but I've had it locked in for a while now.
I'm taking a look right now as we speak. Zach, go ahead and say something while I'm looking.
Okay, great. Well, so this past weekend we did have our fantasy football draft. Which is a pretty big ordeal in our league. It's like we talked about it a little bit last week. It's a pretty long-standing league. We got a lot of our friends in it, and so we kind of all get together and have a party. We also talked about the slightly controversial decision to do all of our picks on a big board. One person in particular, who I know listens to this podcast, had a pretty tough time. That would be my dad. Boy, you should see his team. It is something else, let me tell you.
He went from drafting only old guys because he knew who they were to drafting rookie wide receivers from the Vols.
He picked up Aaron Rodgers in like the 4th round, I think, maybe 4th or 5th round.
4th or 5th, yeah.
Oh boy. He was like, you know what? We're doing it. We're only picking guys who've been in the league like 10 years plus, and he stuck to his guns. Derrick Henry was his first pick, I think, right?
First round pick, yeah. He took Aaron Rodgers because he tried to take Lamar Jackson, and I said, Robert, he's already been drafted. And he got mad and was like, well, fine, I don't care anymore.
Between
Zach, it went really downhill at that point.
Between Zach and Robert, neither of them, they were draft players that were drafted like 3 rounds ago. They would use their whole time clock. It was pretty entertaining. I was all about it. But real quick, the Jags are still 3.5 point favorites. And I would like to also add that Robert already dropped Cedric Tillman.
Which
he dropped him already?
Yeah. He should have kept him instead of Hyatt. Because he got him too. He drafted Hyatt.
I think Tillman has a bit more upside this year. Yeah, he's more of an NFL style wide receiver, I think.
Yeah, but it was definitely fun. It was fun doing the picks like that. I mean, it's very easy to miss a player. It happened to me. I thought Swift was gone. I went up there and picked George Pickens, and Zach comes running. He's like a GM who the team in front of him picked the wrong guy, and Zach was like, give me DeAndre Swift, please. And I was like, I spazzed out. I was like, oh no, I thought he was gone, and now my running back situation kind of sucks.
The look in Tenz's eye whenever I said DeAndre Swift's name after he
lost it. Oh, I was so mad.
It was a beautiful, beautiful moment in my life.
It's the last thing I needed was another receiver. I didn't know Swift was still laying around, but it was fun. I mean, we definitely had some guys go way later than they probably should have. Some guys go way too early, but I mean, for the most part, ADP was still pretty accurate. Most of us had cheat sheets and things like that. I mean, Robert didn't. He was just
he did not. That is
going off the name, off the dome.
But the situation is that I feel like if he replaces a couple players, there's a chance he could come through and still have a good season. I feel like it's fantasy's weird like that. Your draft can go one way and then 2 or 3 guys get injured, all of a sudden your team is terrible and somebody else has a player who goes off and then they're all of a sudden good. And it's a weird thing, fantasy football.
The only downside of us, is we all do get together for the draft, and that does make planning it a little hard where a date works for everybody. We did draft super early, and unfortunately somebody in our league did draft Breece Hall pretty early. And unfortunate news if you're drafting Brees Hall, and then Traylon Burks. Luckily, he didn't go down with a major injury yesterday, but he drafted him to be his like receiver too. So it's always scary doing these drafts this early, but it's definitely worth it. That way we can all be together and do it.
Like a couple days span right after the draft, we had news broke during the draft about Jonathan Taylor, which then he ended up not going, and now he's away from camp again. But at the time, we were thinking, oh man, that was a steal. And then Traylon Burks went down, Ezekiel Elliott signed with the Patriots, and Dalvin Cook signed with the Jets. So there was like a whole lot in with 48 hours after we did all that, and it was like chaos in a sense. But I didn't mind. This was probably the earliest we've drafted in a really long time. I do remember one time we drafted during the Hall of Fame game, which is the first preseason, and that's probably the earliest that we've ever done. And the only reason I remember that is because we were watching it while we were drafting.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this type of draft, it was wild because usually I get up. I always do it on my phone, which a bunch of the guys make fun of me because everybody else has their big fancy laptops, and here I am with my phone. But I could go get snacks, or I could go to the bathroom, and I can still keep up with the draft in my. But this, you could not go anywhere. You had to sit because you wanted to mark off whether it was through laptops. Yeah, it was like one of those things. And then like
break.
Yeah, people would come in and like. I felt bad because my wife, she would come in and she was like talking to me, and I was like, wait, hold on, who just got drafted? And it's kind of tough because you got to keep up with it constant. Like you literally are zoned in, which my idea next year is if we do the board again, maybe we sync it, because I know we can do this because I used to sync random dumb videos to the Robert and Sonya's TV. But you just sync something to the TV and have like a big board, like what's available left on on the TV. And that way people can see what's best available at the time if they don't want to keep up with it. It's just a thought,
Yeah.
But
We'll see. I don't know if everybody will want to do it that way again. Some people liked it. Few people didn't. I mean, so we'll see. I mean, it's tough. We got one guy who's in Seattle, so that makes it hard. He was doing it over FaceTime, which I mean, his team's.
He had a pretty good draft, yeah.
Yeah, he did have a good draft.
He kept up with what players were drafted more than some of the people that were here, like Zach over here. He was
very true.
He didn't miss his time out. He didn't draft a player that was already drafted, so give him props for that.
Well, why don't before we move on, why don't we do like if you had like a 1 minute summary of your strategy, maybe some highlights of your team, what you feel good about, who you're really going to lean on you this year. Tens, why don't you go?
Yeah, so I mean, I took Travis Kelce in the first round. I'm banking on him to continue to dominate the tight end matchup every single week. And then I'm really looking at my receiver group to carry me. We do start 3. My running backs are a little weak because Mason took Travis Etienne from under me.
Sorry.
But I did get Mike Evans and Scary Terry and George Pickens kind of later. So hoping those 3 guys with Amon-Ra St. Brown can take me back where I belong, which is not last place.
So I usually go heavy on running backs and surprise.
It's true.
I went heavy on running backs once again. I went Robinson, Tony Pollard, and Travis Etienne. And then I am looking for wide receivers that haven't proven themselves, but are hopefully like in the right time in the right spot for a breakout, which would be Chris Olave, Jerry Jeudy. Well, Tyler Lockett's had breakout times, but anyways, I did not wait until tight end until like the third to last pick, which my last 2 picks were a defense and kicker. So I went with Luke Musgraves, and Justin Fields was my steal of the draft, which Zach agrees with, because he was just sitting there in like the 8th round. And I was like, and I think I kind of sniped him before the player next to me got him, but I'm really happy with that. We'll see what happens. I usually don't. Sometimes I've even waited longer for a quarterback, but it just felt if he was gonna be taken before that, I was gonna wait until one of the very last rounds.
There's a pretty big drop off. I feel like after Justin Fields and Justin Herbert, it gets
pretty the bottom of the barrel. What do you think, Zach? How'd you do?
I don't know. I executed my strategy. I was drafting 3rd, and so in a lot of my mock drafts I did. My goal really was to take one of those top 3 guys. Obviously, I ended up with Austin Eckler at pick number 3, which I think was a great pick. I think he's going to be a great running back. And I really wanted to get a running back, wide receiver, and then hopefully get one of those top 3 quarterbacks by my third pick. That was always my strategy. I wanted an elite running back, an elite wide receiver, and an elite quarterback. So I got Austin Eckler, my first pick, coming back around. I got Devontae Adams with my second pick, and then my third pick, Jalen Hurts got to me, which Patrick Mahomes got reached for pretty early in our draft. And so
second round.
the second round. So
I had a second round.
Yeah, it was pretty early, which I knew was going to happen with our league. So I kind of had a choice between Jalen Hurts and what's his face? No, oh my gosh,
Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson.
No, the the Bills quarterback who is
that overrated guy,
Josh Allen.
Overrated.
Holy cow! I blanked on his name. So I had a choice between Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. Josh Allen had a huge year last year, so I think there's a little bit more question marks around him and whether he can repeat that performance. And so I picked Jalen Hurts, who I think is going to just score an enormous amount of points with his feet, and I think the Eagles are going to be really good. So that was where I went with that. And then after that, I had a couple other risks. I picked up Javonte Williams. Hopefully he ends up having a good season after maybe a couple weeks off with his injury and stuff. So we'll see what happens.
No, per usual, Zach's team is like every time Zach's drafted the last few years, I'm like, I just want his team. Like, just let me put Trevor Lawrence on that team, and then just trade me, and then because Zach's drafts, I don't know. I'm always envious of his team.
Thanks, Tins. But every year I come up short because I suck at keeping up with it. That's always my downfall. Tins is like the guy who makes like 4 trades a week, and he's trying to just wheel and deal and make his team better. And my team is, by the end of the year, his team always looks like so different from the beginning.
Yeah, that's somebody told me that after the draft. He's like, how many of these guys are going to be on your team by the end of the year? I said, well, I've got Trevor. I got Trevor and I've got Calvin Ridley. So those 2 are locks, but probably not very many. Not even Travis Kelce's safe.
A couple years ago, Tins, you and I did a compare because we could look up what your draft was compared to your final week on the roster, and I think you had 0 players that you drafted were still on your team.
That's fair.
That's what you want.
Just trading, baby.
Well, what's really happened in our league, though, is everyone is scared to trade with Tinsley now, and so it's really hurting Tinsley's strategy.
Slowed down the last few years.
I think everyone's always just like, I feel like if Tinsley offered me this trade, he knows something that I don't know. Or maybe, and so it's skeptical to trade with him on average.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a couple guys left. Really just Josh. He's the only one that will trade with me. So it is what it is. I'll just stick by my team one year. Maybe I'll win finally. Again, it's been a drought.
Well, we've had a lot of sports, big news. Did you have anything else, Zach?
I was going to just mention Tinsley's new team name.
Go ahead. Yeah, we can't forget that. Go ahead, Zach.
As getting part of the punishment for last place in our league, the first place person, who in this case was Jake, gets to pick the last place person's team. In this case, what did he pick, Tins? Can you say it
so I had to name my team Tighten Up with 3 exclamation marks.
Usually if there's 3 exclamation marks, you have to say it with emphasis. So you got to scream, Tighten Up!
This is a free country, and I'm not saying it. Dumb crap.
Is Tighten Up like the worst team motto of all time?
Yeah.
It might be. It's pretty bad.
It might be. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It's like we cheated off somebody in a group. It's like a group project. We just tighten up and then a raccoon as our mascot. We need to get together.
There's so many cool stuff like traditions around the league, and
that's per usual for the Titans. You guys stole these cool uniforms from the Houston Oilers, and then now
you're very cool.
You got this dumb saying "tighten up." I mean, you guys are just lame. You guys are lame.
Last I checked, according to your fantasy team, though, you're a huge Titans fan.
Yeah, wait till I get my profile picture for my team up. No one got to pick that. It's me only, and I've got some stuff cooking. None of you are gonna like it. You're all gonna wish I didn't have my team name this. All I know is I might throw the championship game if I'm there, because I'm not having my name on the trophy with stupid name.
It's true. It would have to be that according to the rules.
He's gonna throw it. That's hilarious.
Don't put it past me.
So we've had a jam-packed week or past couple weeks of like sports news. I'm gonna kick us off. This just in. If you have kids, teach them to play soccer. On August 15th, Neymar signed a 2-year contract with Saudi Pro League club. Neymar signed a $326 million contract. Here's what Neymar will receive in his contract: $87,000 for each win. That's literally like pennies compared to the rest of the contract. Get this, Zach. $543,000 for each social media post from his account, which promotes Saudi Arabian club or just promotion in general. $500,000.
You have no idea how many posts that would be making every
So here's
day.
the thing. I looked it up. There's no we're not aware if there's a cap or not. So there might be like a post every month, a post every day, or could you just make constant posts throughout the whole entire, like as many as you wanted?
It's putting out so much content for me.
That's probably the easiest. Think about it. He's playing a whole game and he only gets 87,000 if they actually win. But for someone else that's not even him to make the social media post, he's probably got a team that will make it. He will get $500,000, which is just crazy to me. According to various sources, Neymar has been offered 3 luxury cars, namely a Bentley, an Aston Martin, and a Lamborghini. Additionally, he has also received 4 Mercedes G-Wagons and a Mercedes van. I don't know why he needs 4 of those. That's still not it.
How much would the Saudis pay us to sponsor them in this podcast, you think?
Well, if it's even like 1% of what Neymar just got, because like I said, I'm not done yet. A private jet, which is available to him whenever he wants.
Heck yeah.
To go wherever he wants. And then also to mention, Neymar is also given a mansion. I don't know if it's given like completely or just while he's there. A mansion with 25 rooms, which also has a swimming pool and a dedicated staff with it. Talk about luxury. Talk about
that's something
insanity. I also looked it up, and his was I think his is like the top contract when it just came to money, not even like the extra stuff that came with it. So that's pretty wild.
That's like an amount of money. That's just like, what are we doing here? You know, like,
how can you even use that much money?
You can't, for sure. Yeah.
Well, that's why the owner of like the club, like you're just at a point where you're just like, I'm trillions in, like this is pennies to me. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go get the best, because I think the Saudi teams, like pro team, offered this to Messi and what was that other soccer player we talked about? Yeah. So finally got one of the big star players and offered a lot. Which logistically, if you compare it to Neymar, Messi, I still am wondering if Messi's is even, because he has like a percentage ownership of the Miami football club, but it's kind of fun to compare.
Do you see that game in Nashville coming up pretty soon? And tickets are like $600 like to get in the door.
Just to get in the door. It's wild.
Crazy. I saw like lower level was like $11,000. Imagine if you were just like a season ticket holder, you could sell your ticket, and then you could probably like buy a car with that much. If someone actually, I'm sure there's somebody out there that is the same, like money is no worry to them, so they're just going to spend $11,000 on one game to see Messi, and then you're just like, oh, I'll just turn around and buy a car with that, or part of a car. It's pretty wild.
He has been crazy though. You just watch his highlights and stuff, and it's just like he's playing a different sport than everybody else is on the field. It's just I mean, what he's doing is nuts, you know.
I saw where if you bet $10 on him to score a goal and you just rolled it over every game since he's joined the MLS, you're up like $500.
Heck yeah.
In like 6 games.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
Wild stuff. Soccer, huh?
Soccer. Huh?
And that was our soccer
Soccer
news
segment.
press really. Yep, for the whole season probably.
Hey, that's
We
more
might
than
talk about.
most. That's more than
It's
most
true.
podcasts.
That's true.
You're
It's
right.
pretty good.
All right,
Uh,
Tins, what's your news of the week?
we alluded to it a little bit earlier. Since we're talking, it's fantasy season. There's a lot of running back news this week. We kind of talking about it last week about these guys holding out. We still have some holdouts. J.K. Dobbins still not reporting to camp, even though they cleared him from the PUP list. Jonathan Taylor showed up, but then has an excused absence for personal reasons, so I'm not really sure what's going on there. That whole cult situation is just getting messier by the day. I hope everyone is on under 5.5 wins at plus 180 because it's going to cash so nice and easy for everyone. And then we talked about Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook signing with the Patriots and the Jets, really kind of spreading these veteran running backs around. And it looks like Kareem Hunt and Leonard Fournette are next, looking like they're going to end up with the Cowboys and the Colts too. They're kind of looking, and maybe the Saints. So a lot of running back news. I'm sure there'll be some more changes in and out as the season gets closer for these veteran guys to pick up on a team.
I just think that it's one of those things that you need to look at. Okay, how valuable are running backs, and we need to change this because you're looking at all the other positions, and they're not undervalued like this position is. I don't know what's going to happen if they're going to have to talk to the owners and get this changed, but apparently what's happening, and we've talked about this in the past, but the franchise tag is so undervalued. So what it's supposed to be, right, is like a percentage of the franchise tag is from the highest paid player. So what's happening is now that all the running backs are getting paid a low amount and they're almost disposable, then that franchise tag price is going down. Correct, Tins? Am I butchering anything?
No, you're right. I know the new the new deal. They're talking about shortening the length of running back contracts for draft picks. So instead of being a 5-year deal, it's a 3-year deal. So maybe they can hit free agency while they're still in their prime. It's just one of those things. I don't know how you can avoid it. Running backs get used so much, and they're the one position where the more you use them and the better they produce, the more their value falls off because it is just a position that gets beat up. So it's very interesting. I like these veteran guys. I mean, they both signed 1-year deals for a pretty good amount of money. It's pretty incentive based, but guys like Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette right now are former Pro Bowl players, and they're not on a team. They're waiting for an injury to happen before they can get a job. So I don't know. It's definitely interesting. It's something I like to keep up with. Running backs, my favorite players growing up have all been running backs. So I've always just had an interest in them. So it's been definitely interesting to keep up with. I hope they do something to where running backs aren't going to hold out every year, and it's not a position that we lose.
Well, because like Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell, if you think about them, they were the best at their time, and they just didn't have a very long lifespan career. Like I saw something where it was like all of these players were like Pro Bowls, and it was like 4 or 5 years ago, Pro Bowl running backs, and they're not even in the league right now, like on a team. It's pretty wild how short. Instead of raising your kid to be a running back in the league, you need to raise them to be another football player, a soccer player. Yeah,
100%.
good stuff, Tins.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Last press release of the day. It's kind of a hefty one. We are going to dive into the college football world a little bit. We are mere weeks away from some of our kickoffs and things happening. We're super excited about that. And with that comes our AP Top 25 got released. And so if we want to just break down a few things happening there, let me just kind of run down the top of the list, and then we'll hit maybe some high points. I think we got some takes for it. Top 10, just really quick, is Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, Washington. And just reading that, you're like, I feel like it's one of those things where it's almost a name recognition situation where it's like, oh, I think Ohio State should be in the top 5. I think Michigan should be in the top 5. And so I don't know. That's always something to look at. But you mean your top 10 are kind of your who's who, maybe with the exception of Washington popping in the number 10, which is pretty cool. But other than that, we have a lot going on there. We are obviously Tennessee people here, and so Tennessee clocks in at number 12, which is a decent couple of spots dropped from the coaches poll that came out a few weeks ago. It's like 3 spots down. And then right below us, Tennessee is Notre Dame. Right above Tennessee is Texas. So we have a lot of huge names up there at the top. Did anything jump out to you, Tins, when you see all those names there?
Yeah, I see a lot of teams that we don't know who's starting at quarterback for sure in the top 10. You've got Georgia, who hasn't named a starter, Ohio State, and I'm blanking. Where did they go? Shoot, Georgia and oh no, run through the top 10 again. I'm so sorry. Ohio State.
Yeah.
Alabama,
Michigan, Ohio
LSU.
State, Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State,
Penn
Clemson.
State. Sorry, Penn State, Ohio State, and Georgia have not even named their starting quarterbacks yet. I mean, they're talented teams, but I don't see where Penn State showed enough last year where they can just roll into this season with question marks at quarterback and as many defensive pieces as they lost in the draft and just say, oh no, we're a top 10 team, where I don't see where they can be above Tennessee. Tennessee should and Penn State should be swapped.
Kind of. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think Tennessee is being undervalued a little bit here. I know that there's maybe a quarterback question somewhere out there, an offensive line question possibly. It is pretty crazy to have dropped as much as they did. I think the thing that sticks out most when you first look at this, maybe the team that is most interesting in that list is Florida State sitting at number 8. Obviously, they have that huge Week 1 matchup, which will be the premier matchup of Week 1, without a doubt, with LSU. And they played last year. Florida State won a very close game. That was early in the season when LSU was still kind of teetering, and then they really kind of picked it up after that Tennessee game. Really, is whenever they started kicking into gear, and their second half of the season played much different than the first half of their season. So I think that's going to be a really good and fun game to see where we're at. I expect LSU to kind of run away with it. To be 100% honest with you, it's in LSU. Yeah. I think they're coming in with some pretty big expectations for the season. I just don't see Florida State coming in and doing very much against LSU, just to be honest. The line is like -2.5 for LSU right now, but I would, in this situation, I think I'd definitely take that LSU line. Be a fun game, though. Fun first. There's not a lot of other interesting first weekend matchups,
Yeah.
to be honest.
If it's the LSU team that we saw after the UT game, I definitely agree. Because, like you said, the start of the year was a little rough. New quarterback, Brian Kelly taking over. It was just rough to begin with, but he's a great coach. Yeah. I think they've straightened things out. I know that you kind of gave him out as a sleeper as far as national championship, and it's going to start week 1. If they drop that game, it makes it a little bit tough because the SEC West is very. I mean, Bama might be down, but Bama's still pretty tough opponent to be going up against. So you don't want to have an early season loss and still have Bama on the schedule coming up. So that's definitely going to be the best of the early season games, because I think that Ohio State Notre Dame matchup, as much as I'm not an Ohio State guy,
is that week 3?
Right, yeah, but like as far as
early season, right?
Yeah, early season, like early kind of maneuvering for playoff spots. I think Ohio State just is going to kill them. Notre Dame, I couldn't be lower on Notre Dame.
Speaking of Notre Dame, I was going to talk about Notre Dame today. Boy, so I kind of stumbled upon this list where it talks about it shows how far up or down teams fell from the end of season poll at the end of last year. Speaking of Tennessee, they dropped 6 spots, which, I mean, we did lose a potential Heisman winner if he didn't get injured. We lost a couple of NFL wide receivers and a top first round draft pick offensive lineman in Darnell Wright. But dropping 6 spots seems tough, especially let's listen to a couple of these other jumps that happened, and then just listen to the names of the teams that jumped. LSU jumped 11 spots, which, I mean, I think they're going to have a good team. USC jumped 6 spots. Texas, guess how many spots Texas jumped?
Oh no.
14 spots. From the
Dang.
end of last year to the beginning of this year, it went from 25 to 11. I'm guessing because of one Manning that's now a freshman on campus.
But he's not
He's not even
starting.
going
He's
to play. I don't know. This happens every year, which is what Texas. This happens literally every year, where Texas jumps up and it's like, oh, here we are in the top 10, and then they're just
We're back.
Yeah, they're back. Texas is back, guys.
Except it's the wrong Texas, because I don't know if you were around a few Fridays ago, but it's Texas Tech winning the Big 12, everybody.
Texas Tech is back. Notre Dame also jumped 5 spots up to number 13. And so we have a couple of big jumps by some of those names you just hear all the time. But Notre Dame, interesting. We kind of trashed on Notre Dame a little bit last year. Quickly, because I think we're going to stop hearing about them about halfway through the season after a couple of games. They're just going to lose and get smacked around. I think with them not being in a conference, it really makes it to where they have to be very, very good to be considered. I mean, maybe one loss, but you get the second loss. And their schedule is like the softest schedule of all time. But then you play Ohio State on September 23rd. Then they have to play USC October 14th. And they play Clemson November 4th.
That's 3 L's.
It's three L's, and then every other game is going to be like 40-point wins because the schedule is so soft other than that. So it's really interesting case study in Notre Dame's schedule this year. Sorry, Mason.
Notre Dame's team total is 8.5. So
8.5 wins?
Yeah, 8.5. Over 8.5 is minus 135. Under is plus 115. So get plus money.
It's time to go plus money hunting.
Well, I will say, so this was, I was thinking about making this my future. I'm just going to say it now because we're talking about it. Notre Dame, and this is the opposite of plus money hunting, their odds to make the college football playoff. Number 13 in the nation, but number 13. Their odds to make the college football playoff is minus 800 to not make it. I'm taking it.
Oh,
I'll bet $100 and make what, like 2. Like I'm so confident that they're not making the college football playoff this year, and I don't know who continues to put them in the top, up and just bump them up. I guess just because they know they have a big fan, but whatever. I don't understand how this continues to happen, but it does. There's my rant. I'm done. No more Notre Dame talk the whole year because they're going to lose to Ohio State and they're going to get snacked around, and we're just going to forget about all this ever happened until next season when the AP poll comes out and they're back there, number 13, number 10. Guys, this is the year for Notre Dame.
Oh, no.
We did talk about them last week as well.
We did. I know.
We're like 10s over here with the Jags. I'm not going to talk about them, and then we talk about them.
I didn't talk about the Jags for 2 episodes.
It makes me so mad. Okay, I'm done ranting. Done ranting about Notre Dame.
Well, speaking of college football, do we have any more? Because I'm ready for my trivia question.
We can. Let's go. I'm done ranting.
Okay. Speaking of preseason AP polls, since the year 2000, Alabama has had the most AP preseason number 1 rankings with 7 times. Are we both ready?
Yep.
With which college has had second most number 1 ranking since the year 2000?
2000.
First of all, while y'all are thinking, I do have. Let me give out
preseason. Was this preseason rankings?
Preseason rankings. So I'll give out. I do have some options here. Oh. Is it A, Clemson, B, USC, C, Ohio State, D, Miami? While y'all are thinking, what's our overall record, everybody?
Oh,
I'm like 6-1.
6-1.
I'm like 1-6. We're living the tough life over here. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so I'll go over it one more time. Yeah. A, Clemson, B, USC, C, Ohio State, D, Miami. No, the most number 1 rankings behind Alabama.
Can you tell us how many it is? What's the number?
Sure, I'll give a number. 4. Okay, they've had 4 number 1 AP. Okay,
I think I got my guess.
All right, lock them in.
I'm gonna go D.
Miami.
Miami. Zach, what's yours?
There's no way. I'm going with USC.
The answer is B, USC with 4. They were ranked
It's the
number
Reggie
1.
Bush, Matt Leinart era. They were
Yep.
elite. Yeah.
You are correct. They were ranked number 1 in AP preseason poll in 2004, 2005, 2007, and 2012.
I feel like the Clemson one. I feel like every time when they were pretty good, they were always competing with Alabama, and I feel like Alabama always ended up over them.
Yep.
Whenever Clemson was like doing their thing, which they still, I mean, they're still a great team. And I think
you're right.
Yeah, they had a freshman quarterback win the national championship.
Oh, who was that? Tins, that's weird.
Oh, I don't know.
I didn't know you were a big Clemson guy.
Big Clemson guy. Big supporter.
Well, that
it's
was
Trevor
my
Lawrence.
trivia.
Anybody who doesn't know.
Here we are back on the Jags.
I went Miami. They had all those really good early 2000s, and it was more like late 90s, like Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, those crazy teams. But I risked it for the biscuit, and I failed. I burned them.
We're back, baby. We're college football trivia. We're gonna get this record back in shape.
So I have a part 2 for trivia. Are you all ready for it?
Ooh.
Yeah. Some NFL, and this is going to lead into my my future Friday as well. So, which NFL team led the league in total interception touchdowns in the 2022 season? Is it A, Patriots, B, Eagles, C, 49ers, D, Bears? They're both like puzzled.
I think it's A.
Zach?
I'm going with the 49ers.
And the answer is A, Patriots.
We suck again.
Yeah, because their offense sucked so much, their defense had to go and score for them all the time.
They had 5 interceptions that ended with a touchdown. Speaking of interceptions, I'm going to go with a future here that is not offensive based. Ooh. It is on the defensive side of the football, and I'm super pumped about this one. For all those that have doubted me, faded me in a parlay, whatever you want to say, I'm not going to say your name, but for those that have not agreed with any of my picks, please take this one for the love of everything.
This is the one.
Wow. This is the one. It only took me 7-8 episodes. How many episodes are we in?
This is number 9.
And then how many episodes have we not had a layoff?
9 episodes. We're 100%.
100%. All right. So this is J.C. Horn over 1.5 defensive interceptions. If you're wondering, Mason, who's J.C. Horn? Great question, billions of fans out there. Thank you. Great question, Zach.
Yep.
J.C. Horn is the starting cornerback for the Carolina Panthers. He had 3 interceptions last year. Here's the thing that caught my attention. We've already talked about this in past episodes, but the NFC South has what kind of quarterback play, Tins?
Pretty hot garbage.
Hot garbage quarterback play. Their quarterbacks that they play twice in a season is possibly Desmond Ridder, Derek Carr, and either Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. Who really cares? Ooh. They're both going to be garbage.
Good stuff.
But wait, there's more. The Panthers also play against a quarterback that tied for most interceptions last season and only played 15 out of the 17 games. Or what was it, 14 out of the 17? Something like that. He didn't play as many as everybody else, and he tied for interceptions. And that guy's name is Dak Prescott. Horn will also have a chance to play and get his interceptions against 2 rookie quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson, which Tinsley loves that guy, apparently. Just kidding. He's not a fan. And C.J. Stroud.
I am a fan of Anthony Richardson. I hope they start him for years to come.
Well, J.C. Horn is going to be lining up against these wide receivers, and he's going to be intercepting against either C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, or Will Levis might play in Week 11 if
Oh
the
boy.
Titans are falling apart over there. They might. So he has a chance to play against 3 rookie quarterbacks. Are you kidding me? He's not going to get 2 interceptions. All he needs is 2. And I just told you, Dak Prescott's probably going to throw 4 in the game that they play. Are you kidding me right now? I'm
Look at all
shocked
that
by
research.
this number. I'm shocked by it.
Proud
So
of you,
give me
Mason.
JC Horn over 1.5 interceptions at -120. I already placed the bet because I'm that confident in it. So
You should be
there's
selling
my
these
bet.
picks, Mason.
I should be selling these. We're gonna put
At a
these on
premium.
the social media. Yeah, I know, right? So that's
I,
my future play right there. What do you think, Tens?
I really like it. He's a press corner. He likes to play man with the number 1 wide receiver. So he's definitely going to get targeted a lot, I think. And then they have a great pass rush. So the thing about creating interceptions is, can the defensive lineman put pressure on the quarterback to make a dumb throw? And JC Horn is an elite athlete who can make quarterbacks mistakes. Like he'll pick them off. I mean, he's a very, very talented guy, very good player. He's like going to be considered a top 10 corner after this year. He's probably already right around there anyway. So I definitely like that pick. And it's fun to do a defensive one like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I kept looking at the offensive side, and I was like, what numbers pop out to me? And I was like, you know what? Let's go over it, because if you haven't look at some of the sacks and total tackles. They're fun to look at as well. I'm not too aware of those numbers as much, so I had to go back and do some research. But the JC Horn one really popped out after I looked at their schedule, because I could see this hitting like at week 6 or something, like week 7. Like, are you kidding me? There's 17 games in a season, so give it to me.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
All
Zach,
right.
you have one, or you want me head on up?
No, I gave mine earlier. It was no
Okay.
minus
-100.
800.
Minus 800. All right.
to not make the playoffs.
All right, then. Well, then I'm going to give out mine. And I've been tossing and turning from NFL to college and college back to the NFL. And I've been giving a lot of safe picks. And I don't want that to speak to who I am as a gambler, because who I am as a gambler at my core is I love the big plus monies.
It's
I love
true.
to turn 5 into hundreds. And so I'm going to give out a very nice, juicy pick, and it is Christian McCaffrey to win Offensive Player of the Year plus 1,500. Now, Christian McCaffrey, we're talking about running backs being devalued. I don't think there's if there's one team in the NFL who values quarterbacks, it's Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. The dude loves to run the football. His dad created the outside zone running scheme that teams still use to this day. I mean, when they run the football, it is a work of art. Now, Christian McCaffrey, longtime Panther, was traded last year and only got to play 12 total games, including their playoff games with the 49ers. He rushed for 865 yards, had 54 catches for 480 yards, and 11 total touchdowns. That was while learning a new system, moving across the country, all of these things. He's had the whole offseason to learn the system, get healthy, train all year, and the 49ers brought everyone back as far as all their playmakers. You still got Debo, you've got Brandon Ayuk on the outside, you got George Kittle running around like it's the WWE, trying to just the dude loves hitting people. He's like catching the ball is secondary. I just want to go block. I want to go take a linebacker's head off. And then they arguably have one of the best offensive lines in the league, followed by like left tackle Trent Williams, who's the scariest man in the NFL, first ballot Hall of Famer, 6'7", 300+ pound guy who can run and be a lead blocker for Christian McCaffrey. That is a thing. That is a freight train blocking for that guy. So you're looking at a team full of playmakers that's going to be winning a lot of games. They play in a division that I think is kind of weak. And the 49ers have an emphasis on running the football, especially with Brock Purdy. He hurt his elbow in the playoff game. They're probably going to try to ease him into the season. So I look to them to lean on Christian McCaffrey to start the year. And this schedule that they have, the 49ers are probably going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC because their schedule is crazy easy. I mean, they get to play the Rams and Cardinals twice. They get to play the Bucks, the Vikings, the Giants, all of these, and the Jags. All those teams I just listed are bottom tier run defense teams. So I definitely see where Christian McCaffrey, not just as a running back, but as a receiver, I mean, just in 12 games, he had 54 catches. There's guys who play full seasons at wide receiver that don't get that many catches, and he's a running back who can split out at receiver. And Debo can go and switch to the running back slot. So you're looking at a guy who can get used in a lot of different ways. I bet him to win Offensive Player of the Year over MVP. MVP was like plus 3,500, but that's a quarterback award. Unless you do something absolutely nuts, you're not going to win that award over a quarterback. So at plus 1,500, I think it's definitely worth going and taking Christian McCaffrey to win Offensive Player of the Year.
Love it, Tens. And they're going to dump off a lot. And guess who is going to be there to catch the ball? They do a lot with him in the passing. So you need someone that is a two-way player with running and passing. Austin Eckler comes to mind, and then Christian McCaffrey. I love the pick. I do want to point out two things. I'm pretty sure George Kittle was actually playing in the or was it WWE?
Yeah, no, he's been in a couple like WrestleManias. He's a very big fan.
That was pretty good pointing that out there, because I was like, oh, he actually was in there. And then I'm pretty sure you said that they had a weak schedule and you threw in the Jags in there. What was that about?
We're not very good at stopping the run.
Oh, so you didn't mean overall. You didn't say it.
Oh, sorry.
Tens.
No, they're playing
under the bus.
They're playing like 7 of the top or bottom 10 run defenses from last year. I mean, hopefully the Jags have improved that. That'd be nice, but I'm not going to count on Christian McCaffrey not having over 100 combined yards against us, because the guy's a freak.
And this is our 9th episode of consecutive talking about the Jags. I brought it up. That's just me being fun. Out to the Jags. I don't know if you said weak. You may have just meant like run defenses.
I meant run defense. I don't know if I might not clarify that, but they get to play the Seahawks and Rams twice, who are they're bad in general, but they're also 2 of the worst run defense teams in the league. And so I just see where he's going to be able to rack up yards running and receiving. So, I mean, as long as he stays healthy all year, I mean, he could be the number 1 total yards from scrimmage player. And I think that should warrant him. He'll be at least in the, final 3 for the award. And I mean, at plus 1,500, it's pretty nice. I mean, you throw $10 on that for 150. It's a nice, because they're going to be on prime time all year. So you're probably drafting Christian McCaffrey. If you're drafting high in fantasy, you're going to watch a lot of 49ers games if you're watching primetime football. So might as well root for Christian McCaffrey to go off every week.
That's true, Tins. Good point.
Love it. All right. I think that's a wrap. So follow us on social media, like and subscribe. Check out our Messing Around Monday episode. Guys, you got anything else? It's going to be hot. We already got some awesome plans for it
coming up.
We're ready for it. We appreciate you all listening to us.